could a tiny living soul escape the reaper's scythe in the midst of a crowd? That question still echoed in my mind that morning when, in the bustling schoolyard, I suddenly stopped walking. Right before me lay an unbelievably small baby bird shivering on the cold tile. Its wings had not yet grown feathers. Its body was soaking wet, its eyes half closed as though they were about to shut forever. Each breath it drew was so fragile that I could literally feel life slipping away. All around me were loud laughs, hurried footsteps rushing by, but nobody stopped. The crowd moved on, as if there was nothing living, pleading for help in silence. The sight made my heart tighten. In those tiny eyes I saw panic mixed with a desperate will to live. Every faint peep it made felt like a needle touching my heart, making it impossible for me to look away. At the same time, fear welled up in me. Could I even do anything? I had never cared for a baby bird before. I had no idea where to begin. In those brief seconds, my mind spiraled with a question. What would happen if I walked away? Maybe just moments later, an accidental step would extinguish that life. A stray cat could appear at any moment, or even a cold breeze might be enough to carry it off forever. Faced with that choice, my heart whispered, I cannot turn away. I bent down, hands trembling as I lifted the little bird gently, as if I were holding the fragility of a tiny world. At that moment, I did not know how challenging the journey ahead would be. I only knew one thing. I had to do everything to preserve the faint glimmer of hope in those petite eyes. When I gently lifted the baby bird from the cold tile, I felt clearly how terribly fragile it was. Its small body trembled, its thin legs curled up as though they had no strength left. I was so anxious that I held it firmly yet softly, afraid that even a slight forceful movement might snuff out that fragile life. At that moment, I had no plan. Only one thought echoed in my mind. I must do something right now. I hurried to find a small box, lined it with a soft cloth, and gently placed the bird inside. In that tiny box, it curled up and trembled constantly. I brought my hand close to offer its warmth, hoping to calm the fear of that weak little being. The first minutes were a real ordeal. I did not know what a baby bird needed to survive. I only remembered something I had read somewhere. This fragile life needs warmth, water, and a little food. But how could it drink water when its beak was so weak it could not peck? I used a straw and dripped water, drop by drop, into its mouth. The first time a drop slid down its throat, it stirred slightly. I exhaled in relief, because at least it still reacted. Then came food. I mashed some soft rice, mixed it with a bit of water to make a thin paste, and dripped it little by little into its mouth. At first, it almost did not respond, lying motionless with eyes tightly shut. My heart ached, fearing it was already too late. But then, after many patient attempts, I saw it open its beak to accept. Though still very weak, that effort felt like a sign of hope, illuminating the depths of my heart. I realized that its life had not completely slipped away. The following days were a journey of faith and challenges. Every morning I ran to check on the little box to see if the bird was still breathing. There were moments when I thought I had failed, when it lay motionless for too long, breath nearly gone. But the moment I brought my hand close, or added another few drops of water, that tiny body would stir again. Each time that happened, my heart shattered with joy. Gradually, signs of recovery became more and more evident. Its previously half-closed eyes now stayed open longer, sparkling with life. Instead of lying still, it began to stir its tiny wings, weakly flapping the air. Every time I heard its peep grow stronger than the day before, joy overflowed in me as though the sky itself had brightened simply by that fledgling song. I realized that this journey was not just about saving a tiny life, but also a lesson in patience and love. There were times I felt exhausted, thinking that all my efforts were futile. Yet that small bright eye, that will to live, reminded me that as long as a flicker of hope remains, we must not let go. Every drop of water, every time I fed it, every minute sitting beside it, gradually became a lifeline. I felt that I was not merely caring for a bird, but preserving a miracle that could vanish at any moment. And that thought made me more determined, more connected to this fragile yet deeply meaningful journey. Days passed, and each subtle change in the little bird filled me with astonishment and happiness. From a being who seemed incapable of surviving even the first night, it gradually learned to stand steadily on its slender legs. Its eyes now gleamed at my approach. The faint peeps of before turned into a clear, resonant sound, as if it were thanking life itself. Then the moment I had long waited for arrived. One afternoon, when the gentle rays of late-day light shone softly, I opened the box and placed the little bird on a small patch of grass. It stood there hesitantly, its wings still immature, but feathered enough to spread. My breath hitched, my heart raced, and then with a brave effort, it took flight. At first fluttering and trembling, but within seconds, its wings carried it higher and farther. I looked up, tears falling unbidden. Not from sadness, but from overwhelming joy, witnessing a real miracle unfold before my eyes. In that moment, I suddenly realized, we often think we are too small to make a difference. But sometimes, a simple act, a helping hand at the right moment, can rewrite the fate of a living soul. That little bird not only reclaimed the sky, but also gave me a precious lesson, that love and patience can work miracles. This story is not merely about a baby bird, but a reminder to all of us. In life, there will always be little birds that need a hand, a look, a bit of care. And maybe you, with a compassionate heart, could be the one to create a miracle for someone. If you believe that every living being deserves love and protection, join me in spreading this message. Like, share, and subscribe so that more humane stories can be told. And together, we can make the world a place full of hope and compassion.